Part 13. Dimensional Chosen, Only I Know Saitama is the Strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 121. Puff. A fist suddenly appeared at lightning speed. The head of the white spike that was attacking the black girl was instantly exploded, and blood and flesh flew everywhere. The white spike also turned into a headless corpse. He fell to the ground. Of course it was Fang Ye who took action. However, the speed of Fang Ye's action was too fast. So fast that Black Girl and Dan didn't see clearly what happened. But very quickly, the second white spike he rushed over. Puff. Puff. This white spike has learned a lot while rushing over. It also shot two bone spurs towards Fang Ye. Careful, Dan reminded loudly. Of course. If Fang Ye really had to wait for him to remind him, he might have already been hit. The bone spurs thrown out by the white spikes are amazingly powerful and not slow at all. They are almost the same as the bullets of sniper rifles. But, still couldn't escape Fang Ye's visual nerve capture. Fang Ye didn't even hide, he raised his hand and waved twice, knocking down the two bone spurs. Then, Fang Ye stepped forward and approached the white spike. Then Bai Longding was not slow to react, and even used his two front paws to grab at Fang Ye. Fang Ye immediately took action. With his back first, he grabbed Bai Longding's two front paws and pulled hard. Tear. The entire white spike was torn in half by Fang Ye. It was so cruel. This time, Black Girl and Dan could see it clearly. Then, the two of them were dumbfounded and shocked. Fang Ye's the performance was too fierce. It made them wonder whether the person in front of them was a human being. Who could a normal human being do this? What are you still doing here? Fang Ye, who had killed two white spikes, said to Dan and Jaime, go and guard the exit. Don't let any of these monsters escape. This time, the two of them had no objections to Fang Ye's order. They stepped away obediently and gave up the entire cabin to Fang Ye. At this time, all the white spike monsters in the cabin seemed to have been awakened. Endless roars, ups and downs with each other, kept ringing. In this regard, Fang Ye just stood guard at the door of the cabin, preparing for a battle. It was just a white spike, no matter how many more came, it would not be able to do anything to him. Exit. Dan and Black Girl are staying here. Hearing the sounds of fighting and the roars of monsters coming from the cabin, both of them looked ugly. There are too many white spike monsters. If Fang Ye can't win, the two of them, including the old man outside, are absolutely unstoppable. Once White Spike escapes, with White Spike's reproductive ability, it won't take long to sweep the world. By then, there will be no need to wait until 2048. Humanity on Earth has entered the countdown to extinction ahead of schedule. Dan, how on earth did you meet him? The black girl suddenly asked. The person she mentioned naturally meant Fang Ye. I didn't know Fang, but he took the initiative to find me. Dan's face looked a little unnatural. He felt that he might have been used by Fang Ye. They didn't need him to help kill Bai Longjing at all. They probably just needed his father's plane. I have never seen such a strong person. The black girl said solemnly. No, he has even left the human realm long ago. I believe him if he is said to be a god. Hearing this, Dan was silent for a moment, and then said, no matter what, his target is White Spike. As long as he can destroy White Spike, it will be good for us, right? I always feel that his real goal is not that simple. The black girl frowned and said, he has such a powerful power. If he really went to the future, many of your daughter's plans could be implemented and he would not fail so quickly. Dan was also a little worried after hearing this. However, Dan can understand the situation. The most important thing now is to eliminate the white spikes and not let these monsters escape. We will talk about other things after the white spikes are eliminated. After the words fell, Dan unconsciously tightened the gun in his hand. Obviously, the black girl's words made Dan wary, feeling that Fang Ye's appearance was a bit abnormal, and that there might be a conspiracy. The screams of monsters in the cabin. It lasted for 3 or 4 hours. Then slowly disappeared. At this time, the sun outside has begun to set. When they heard footsteps outside the cabin door, Dan and black girl subconsciously stood up and clenched their guns. Next moment, Fang Ye walked out of the door and smiled immediately when he saw the two of them. At this moment, Fang Ye looked a little embarrassed. His clothes became torn, there were several bone spurs stuck in his body, and many wounds all over his body were bleeding. There was a huge scratch on the left shoulder in particular, and the bone was deeply visible. It was a huge female white spike that used its claws to cause damage to Fang Ye. Although he looks a little embarrassed. But Fang Ye's temperament is still so strong and invincible. The earth is already safe, and all the white spikes have been destroyed by me. Fang Ye said with a smile. The reason why he was so sure was that he had just received a prompt from the system. In 10 minutes, he would be teleported away and returned to the real world. Then, Fang Ye sat down at the door of the cabin. Dan and Jaime looked at each other in shock. Seeing the injuries on Fang Ye's body, they could tell how fierce the battle in the cabin was just now. What they couldn't believe was that so many terrifying white spikes were killed like this. Was the man in front of him eliminated with his bare hands? Seeing that Fang Ye was covered with injuries, Dan couldn't help but said, "Fang, do you want to go to the hospital? Or go to the plane to simply treat your wounds first?" Fang Ye smiled and waved his hands and said no. "Dan, I'm sorry, I lied to you. I have not been to the future. However, the result is good. All the white nails have been removed by me. Eliminate, your daughter's tragedy will not continue to happen. Next, I hope you can be a good father and give your daughter a complete home." Hearing this, Dan's expression suddenly changed. Because in the original plot, a few years later, Dan would become a scumbag who abandoned his wife, and eventually died tragically in a car accident, which deeply affected his daughter. Dan has been to the future. I heard all this from my future daughter. Only he and his daughter knew about this matter. Unexpectedly, Fang Ye actually said it at this moment. "Who are you?" Dan stared at Fang Ye seriously. "Come save your people." Fang Ye said calmly, "If I hadn't come this time, you would probably have died here. It would be too cruel for your daughter to lose her father at such a young age." Dan fell silent after hearing this. Really? If Fang Ye hadn't taken action before, he and the black girl would have been in great danger. "I'm afraid that the white spike will also run outside and endanger the entire world." The black girl reminded, "It's getting dark soon. Do you plan to stay here all the time? Go back quickly. My time is almost up too." Hearing what Fang Ye said, Dan and Jaime were stunned at the same time. "Fang, what does this mean?" Dan asked. Fang Ye heard the countdown in his mind and waved to Dan with a smile. "Farewell, you too." The words fell. His whole person disappeared from the place without a trace. Seeing this scene, Dan and Jaime were almost scared to death. "Oh, by it! Oh, by it!" the black girl exclaimed loudly. "Is he God?" Dan was also full of shock. He looked at the place where Fang Ye disappeared and was speechless for a long time. Then, the two of them cautiously and tentatively walked into the cabin, and saw that the floor of the cabin was covered with the flesh and blood of white spikes. The debris piled up like a mountain, like sheer hell. It's unimaginable. What kind of battle did that man just go through? Now, even Dan started to believe what the black girl said. Perhaps, he is really the God who comes to save us humans. Dan muttered to himself. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 122. 2050. Zhao Ling, Suzuki and others are currently trapped in a building. Outside the building, countless white spike monsters surrounded them. It can be seen that they are all in a very bad state at the moment. Zhao Ling'er's pretty face was pale and she looked like she was overconsumed. There was a bandage on Suzuki's left arm, and the bandage was stained red with blood, which showed that his hand was obviously heavy. Others are not much better. We have been surrounded by white spike monsters. A student from Beijing University whispered when Bai Longjian rushes in, if we don't give up, we may be dead. Hearing this, everyone fell silent. Boom. Outside the iron gate, countless long white nails began to hit the door. Every time there was a collision, everyone's hearts trembled. Another boy from Beijing University seemed to be unable to bear the atmosphere of waiting for death. He couldn't help but said, I give up. Yes, if you want to persevere, just continue to persevere. After the words fell, the boy chose to give up the mission and disappeared from the place. He returned to the real world. Of course, all his mission progress will also be cleared. It means that this trip was in vain. Seeing this, the boy disappeared, and the others looked at each other. Many people were a little moved and wanted to give up. If they don't give up, I'm afraid it will be too late when the white spikes outside rush in. Seeing the fluctuation of people's hearts, Zhao Ling'er's pretty face was firm. It seemed that some decision had been made. At this moment, a prompt sounded suddenly in everyone's mind. Please note. The fate of our world has been changed, and you will be teleported away in 5 minutes. Everyone was stunned. Just now, I seemed to hear the warning sound of the forbidden area. I also heard it, saying that your destiny has been changed and you will be teleported away in 5 minutes. Why were the orders of this world suddenly changed? The instructor never told us this. Yes. It's wired. The trapped people were talking among themselves. Suzuki and Zhao Ling'er looked at each other knowingly, and saw the answer in each other's eyes. They knew. Change the destiny of the world. It must be Fang Ye. Only Fang Ye has this opportunity and strength. Zhao Ling'er immediately stood up and said loudly, listen to me, everyone, I believe you all heard the prompt in the forbidden area just now. As long as everyone persists for 5 more minutes, you can safely return to the real world. With all your efforts these days, it won't be cleared either. Upon hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. Yes. The reminder about the forbidden area just now clearly stated that in 5 minutes, they will all be teleported away. This doesn't count as giving up. Mission progress will most likely be retained. We can't hold it here, let's go upstairs, Suzuki said. Everyone agreed. Then, everyone ran upstairs. Originally, running upstairs when surrounded by white spikes was definitely a dead end, and they could only survive for a while. But now, all everyone needs is to hold on for 5 minutes. 1 minute later, Bai Longding broke through the door and entered the building, and everyone went upstairs again. 2 minutes later, Bai Longding chased after him, and everyone retreated while fighting. 3 minutes later, Bai Longding approached, and everyone retreated again and again. 4 minutes later, everyone was forced to the rooftop of the Daxia building. There was no way to retreat, and there was no way out. Bai Longding had chased him to the entrance of the rooftop. There was only 1 step away from hunting everyone. But at this moment, 5 minutes were up. The next moment, the surrounding environment suddenly began to change unpredictably. Those vicious white spikes turned into ashes one after another, and disappeared from their original places. Disappeared. The surrounding dilapidated high-rise buildings were also recovering quickly. A large number of people appeared on the streets. As usual, they were shopping and working. It was obvious that it was a ruin-like apocalyptic world just now, but in just a few breaths, it transformed into the prosperous and peaceful city of the past. It was as if the monster white spike had never appeared. All the disasters had never happened. Everyone was stunned by the spectacle in front of them. Then, They did not belong to this world. And they all disappeared one by one from where they were. At the same time, Fang Ye stood in a pure white alien space, receiving the reward given to him by the Forbidden Land. Congratulations! You performed extremely well in this forbidden area. You eliminated all the white spike monsters in advance and changed the fate of the world. You have received the highest task rating. You saved this world, and the entrance to the forbidden area is about to disappear. You have gained 150 freely assignable attributes. You get the added bonus of saving the world, Crisis Sense. A series of prompts sounded. Fang Ye was a little stunned. Especially the last prompt, he actually gained a new ability. Soon, a burst of red light flashed, and Fang Ye had something more about it in his mind. The memory of the new ability. Crisis Sensing. As the name suggests, it is the ability that allows Fang Ye to sense crises in advance. If Fang Ye had had this ability earlier, he would not have been shot when he was ambushed by a killer a few days ago. Being when the sniper rifle is aimed, Fang Ye can sense danger. After reading the new memory in his mind, Fang Ye's eyes lit up. This ability is quite good. It is very suitable for the current Fang Ye. The current Fang Ye has not yet. When he becomes invincible, crisis sensing will allow him to avoid many dangers. When he becomes as powerful as Saitama, crisis sensing will probably lose its effect. Next, Fang Ye will directly use 150 points of free attributes added to his mental attributes. As a result, his attribute panel became as follows. Name, Fang Ye. Race, human. Physique, 833. Spirit, 595. Strength, 831. Agility, 779. Bloodline, Saitama physique, awakened. Super talent, flame. Skill, demon god comes to the world, can be upgraded. Passive ability, crisis sense. This is Fang Ye's current property panel. His physique, strength, and agility are increasing all the time. Because Fang Ye has been exercising every day and never stopped. Although the spiritual attributes increase slowly, there are now rewards from forbidden areas that can be increased, which can make up for the shortcomings. Now Fang Ye's strength can definitely be called a master. Among the freshmen, it would be an insult to say that he is the best among the freshmen. With such attributes, even if all the freshmen unite, Fang Ye can defeat him. Are there extra rewards for saving the world? So I released the T-Virus Serum in the Forbidden Area number 2, Resident Evil, and it can be regarded as saving the world, right? Why don't you give me an extra reward? Could it be that the Flame Super Talent is an additional reward? Fang Ye really guessed it right. If he hadn't performed well and received the highest task evaluation, what he got would definitely not have been the Flame Super Talent. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 123. The entrance to the Forbidden Area. The students who came out all had poor mission evaluations. The faces of several military bosses who came to watch were a little ugly. The ones with the best task evaluations currently are Zhao Ling, Suzuki Wu, and others. They all have green ratings. There is not even a purple task evaluation, let alone a red task evaluation. When everyone was almost out, the instructor walked over and asked with a stern face. What's the matter with you? Why behave so poorly? Almost all of these students are arrogant. When the instructor asked him this, many people immediately felt unhappy and retorted. Instructor, it's not that we didn't want to perform poorly, it's that we were teleported out before the mission time was over. Yes. We have tried our best. Speaking of which, I also want to ask you, the instructor. Why don't we know how to change the world? Hearing these garbled words, the instructor was stunned. He was sent out before the mission time was over? What is going on? What happened? The instructor quickly asked what happened in the forbidden area. Someone replied, the fate of the world in the forbidden area has been changed, and we have all been sent out in advance. What? The instructor was shocked. Is there such a thing? When everyone saw this, they knew that even the instructors didn't know that the fate of the world could still be changed. It seemed that what happened today should be the first time in history. At this moment, a dazzling golden light suddenly erupted at the entrance to the forbidden area. Light. Then, a figure appeared in the golden light. Under the golden light, this person was like an earthly god, with golden light shining all over. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene. Golden light. That was the highest mission evaluation. Look at the person who appeared again. It was the national champion, Fang Ye. And just after Fang Ye appeared, an even more shocking scene appeared. The entrance to the forbidden area behind Fang Ye began to slowly dissipate until it completely disappeared. Disappeared. This scene stunned everyone present, including the military bosses who were watching from behind. 10 minutes later, Fang Ye was taken into a dark room. Some forbidden areas will allow those who entered to recover from their injuries after leaving the forbidden area. Now Fang Ye's condition has completely returned to normal. In the room, there are many surveillance cameras. Subsequently, a middle-aged colonel came and sat down opposite Fang Ye. Hello, classmate Fang Ye, I am from the XX Army, and my surname is Wu. Fang Ye nodded and said, hello, hello, Colonel Wu. Colonel Wu. Classmate Fang Ye, would you like something to drink? Fang Ye was not polite. Just boil water, better get me a steak, I'm a little hungry. Upon hearing this, Colonel Wu immediately arranged for someone to do it. It didn't take long. Steak and water were brought in. The steak was still sizzling hot, obviously freshly cooked. Fang Ye, who was already hungry, started eating without any courtesy. While Fang Ye was eating, Colonel Wu just watched without saying a word, and did not disturb Fang Ye's enjoyment of the steak. After Fang Ye finished eating, someone came in and took away the empty plates. Until then, Colonel Wu then asked, classmate Fang Ye, the fate of the world in the forbidden area was changed because of you, right? Fang Ye nodded generously and admitted, yes, I went to the peaceful era and eliminated all the white spike monsters in advance. Can you tell me in detail what you did in the forbidden area? Colonel Wu asked. Sure. Fang Ye recalled as he said, based on the information the instructor taught us, I judged that the monster white spike was probably in that world a long time ago. So, after entering the forbidden area, I chose the time to travel to 2023 December. Etc. Colonel Wu suddenly interrupted and asked, why did you choose this time? Fang Ye explained calmly, according to the instructor, in the forbidden area, when the time and space channel was opened in the future world, it was 2049, and when the time and space channel was destroyed by monsters, it was 2050, and there was a full year in between. Time. The first time the future soldier traveled back to the past was in 2022, which means that in 2023, the present and the future lost contact. I think that if I travel back in time in 2023, I might be able to get news about the white spirals from the mouths of those veterans. Of course this is false. The actual reason is that Fang Ye knows the plot. Of course, Fang Ye cannot tell others about this. Even if Suzuki comes, Fang Ye will not tell her. Colonel Wu frowned when he heard this, frowning. He felt that Fang Ye's reason was a bit far-fetched, but it was barely reasonable. I understand, classmate Fang Ye, keep talking. Fang Ye then continued, while I was looking for veterans who had participated in future wars, I met a veteran named Dan Forrester. When Colonel Wu heard the name, he immediately wrote it down in his notes. Dan Forrester, his daughter, is the top human scientist in the future world. She invented a toxin that can kill white spike, but it was too late. Dan had no time to save his daughter, so I put my inference, told Dan, and got the other party's approval. Next, we began to prove our inference. We obtained the claws of white spikes from another veteran, and found traces of volcanic ash on their claws. The volcanic ash came from thousands of years ago. We deduced that, the white spike monster probably came to that world thousands of years ago. So, we began to analyze the volcanic ash and came to the final conclusion, the white spikes are probably hidden in the glaciers of polar bears. Finally, we gathered many members and found a crashed alien spacecraft under the polar bear glacier. In the spacecraft, we saw a large number of white spike monsters. In fact, the white spike monster is a kind of biological weapon. By releasing them, aliens can achieve the purpose of clearing out the natives of the planet and obtain a complete planet. The reason why those white spike monsters did not appear until 2048 is because when the alien spacecraft crashed, they were buried under the glacier. It was not until 2048 that the glacier melted and the white spikes reappeared. Finally, we placed bombs in the spaceship and destroyed all the white spike monsters. Fang Ye finished speaking in one breath and took a sip of water. These words were of course half true and half false. What really destroyed the white spike monster was Fang Ye alone, with his bare hands. He was afraid that using explosives would lower the mission evaluation. Anyway, the entrance to the forbidden area has disappeared. What Fang Ye said is nowhere to be found. Of course, you can say whatever you want. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Bean Garden. Chapter 124. There will be people who will ask themselves. Fang Ye was not surprised at all. Even the forbidden area has disappeared. If the military boss is indifferent, then there is something wrong. Thank you Fang Ye for your cooperation. Colonel Wu said, classmate Fang, you can leave now. Fang Ye nodded, turned, and left the room. In a conference room not far away, several military bosses were watching the scene of Fang Ye walking out of the room on the monitor. For a long time, a general asked, how credible do you think this young man's words are? 80%. A major general next to him said, according to some information in the forbidden area, that white spike monster did suddenly appear on the human planet in 2048. The humans over there have not detected any unidentified flights. Objects enter the planet. The student just now said that he found white spikes in peacetime. His credibility is as high as 100%. It is the only reasonable explanation. Oh? The general asked with a smile, then why do you say that the credibility is only 80%? The major general replied, because of this information, many smart people must have thought of it, and it is not like no one has made similar attempts. In the end, only he found the whereabouts of the white spike, and it only took a few days. I can be sure that this kid must be hiding something from us and not telling the truth. I have to say, there are still many smart people. The major general's inference is very reasonable. After listening, the general also nodded. Commander, do you want to ask again? The major general suggested. The general knew what the major general meant. If I ask again, I'm afraid the attitude will not be so friendly. After thinking for a while, the general still shook his head and said, this is not necessary. The disappearance of the entrance to the forbidden area is not good for our 5th military region. Which is also a good thing. At least there is no need to allocate troops to guard this forbidden area in the future. As for what this kid is hiding, it doesn't matter. After listening to the general's words, the major general was silent for a moment, and then said, Commander, I have investigated the information about this guy named Fang Ye before, and found that this guy is amazing. For the first time he participated in the number 2 Forbidden Land, he broke the record and got the highest score. The mission evaluation is also the highest in the Forbidden Area number 3, including this Forbidden Area mission, which cannot be difficult for him. So far, this young man has never failed. He is the strongest freshman in history, with a bright future. The only thing that is surprising is that the hero he chose during the college entrance examination was a C-level hero. Logically speaking, it is impossible for such a talent to make such a foolish choice. So I guess it is very possible that this C-level hero is not simple, and maybe he has some unknown talent potential. Oh? Is there such a thing? The general was a little surprised. What is the name of this C-class hero? Bald-Caped Man. General. This name is really unique. The Major General said, Commander, this is just my personal idea. I would like to ask for your approval to find some people among the next batch of recruits to try to fit in with this C-level hero. The general was silent for a moment, nodded and said okay. But it has to be voluntary, not forced. Clear. The Major General immediately stood up straight. This test was proposed after the Major General saw Fang Ye's information. In fact, many people have done this. Of course. If you don't know Saitama's training method in this case, even if the match with Saitama is successful, the attributes cannot be enhanced. Everyone who tries will fail. Fang Ye doesn't know yet. Someone has already spotted Saitama among the C-class heroes through his performance. But even if Fang Ye knew about it, he wouldn't care too much. Because he knows that with his rise, all his resume will be studied by people trying to find the secret of his rise. It was only a matter of time before Saitama was targeted. When those people hit a wall with Saitama, they know it's time to give up. At this time, Fang Ye has left the base. At the entrance of the base, Suzuki and others were waiting for him. Fang Ye. Brother Fang. Seeing Fang Ye coming out, Suzuki and others stepped forward to greet him. Why are you the only ones left? What about people from other schools? Fang Ye asked. Zheng Bing replied, they've all left. Suzuki asked Fang Ye, are you okay? What are they looking for you for? It's okay, I just asked a few questions. Fang Ye didn't want to say more in this regard and said, then let's go back to. Everyone naturally agreed. If they hadn't waited for Fang Ye, they would have left long ago. When Fang Ye and others returned to school, they were immediately given a grand reception by the school leaders. The principal personally took the lead and stood at the gate of the school with many school leaders to welcome the return of Fang Ye and others. It seemed as if Fang Ye and the others were not students returning to school, but school leaders coming to inspect. What was even more exaggerated? In the school, a huge banner was also put up. Warm congratulations to Wushan College for winning the National Freshman Competition Championship. Welcome home the championship team. Learn from the good example of the champion team and win honor for the school. Various banner contents can be seen everywhere on campus. Fang Ye's returning team also became the most watched group in the school, making Fang Ye feel uncomfortable all over. Others were cheerful and enjoyed the feeling of being in the spotlight. Then, the school also held a commendation meeting and gave each of Fang Ye and others a generous bonus. There are also teacher leaders such as Yan Tai and the Dean of Students. They responded to the military's call and resisted the alien beasts, and they deserved this honor. After the commendation meeting, the school asked the cafeteria to prepare a sumptuous dinner, which all students could eat for free. After the lively welcome meeting was over, when Fang Ye returned to his independent dormitory, it was already past 10 o'clock in the evening, and then Fang Industry resumes remembered the past days. Exercise every day. His attributes are also rising crazily. Fang Ye originally thought, as his attributes become higher, the effect of regular exercise on him will become weaker and weaker. For example, at the beginning, it would take Fang Ye at least half a day to complete 100 push UPS, 100 sit UPS, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer long run, and he would be half exhausted. But now, Fang Ye can complete these projects in less than an hour, and he can do so easily. According to normal people's exercise, as the physical fitness becomes stronger, it will definitely not be enough to maintain the previous training volume. But when it came to Fang Ye, it was just the opposite. Fang Ye still completes these fixed items every day, but the attributes increase more and more. He has completed these exercise items before. On average, I master about 30 attribute points every day. Physical fitness and strength increase by 10 points respectively, agility increases by 8 points, and mental attributes increase by 2 points. Now, after Fang Ye completes these projects, his attributes can increase by nearly 60 points every day. Almost doubled. Have to say, Saitama's physique is indeed amazing. No wonder Saitama will become so invincible after 3 years. If this continues, in less than 3 years, my various attributes will become astronomical figures. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 125. Suzuki is very happy now. Since Wushan Academy won the national freshman competition, she has gained many benefits as a member of the team. Certainly. What really makes Suzuki happy is the huge change in her family's attitude towards her. Her mother never dared to force her to go on a blind date again. Even the old man personally called her once to affirm and encourage her achievements. With the old man expressing his attitude, no one will dare to force her to do something she doesn't want to do when she is at home. That is to say, now Suzuki can barely be considered free. Suzuki knew. All this was brought to her by Fang Ye. Today, it's time to learn a new lesson again. That is, the relevant information and knowledge about the Forbidden Area number 4. At 9 o'clock in the morning, all the students in school came to the classroom. Professor Joe was still teaching everyone. The school bell rings. Professor Joe walked into the classroom on time. Before talking about the contents of Forbidden Area number 4, I have something to announce to you. Professor Joe said from now on, when you go to forbidden areas in the future, you can go by yourself. The school will not organize you to go there again. Now you can no longer be regarded as freshmen, you should learn to be independent. In the future, when you go to the forbidden area, you only need to take your student ID card and go directly. Of course, if you are timid or unsure, you can choose not to go. It's convenient for the school and we won't care about you anymore. Don't think that you can never go to the forbidden area and wait to die in school. When you go to school next year, if your strength is not up to par, you will be asked to leave. This rule was set by the Ministry of Education, mainly to prevent people from fishing in troubled waters and occupying educational resources. After listening to Professor Joe's words, the students in the classroom fell silent. Many people really planned that if they could choose whether to go to the forbidden area, they would simply not go and just hang around and get a diploma. Even if they are third-rate, if you can get a diploma from the Wushan College of the university, you will have many benefits in entering the society in the future. Now, with the regulations of the Ministry of Education, these people's escape path has been blocked. Only Fang Ye's eyes are bright. Get up. Can he choose to go to the forbidden area? This is much more convenient for him. Class begins next. Professor Joe first asks Suzuki, the class monitor, to hand out the textbook. As soon as the textbook arrived, Fang Ye immediately opened it and looked at it. The first page of the textbook was a portrait. The man in the painting was tall and extremely muscular. His appearance looks a bit old, but he still has the kingly style, and his facial features are very strong. The most surprising thing is that under this person's nose, there is a pure white beard that looks like a crescent moon. In this person's right hand, there is a big sword. At first glance, this man looks a bit like the martial sage Guan Yu. When he saw this portrait for the first time, Fang Ye was shocked. He was familiar with the plot and knew the person in the painting very well. Edward Newgate. Nicknamed Whitebeard. From the world of One Piece. known as the strongest man in the pirate world. Subsequently, Fang Ye turned the textbook to the second page. The portrait on the second page is of Admiral Akainu. Further back, Admiral Aokiji, Admiral Kizaru, Navy hero Garp, Phoenix Marco, and so on. The entire textbook is full of top players in the pirate world. No need to ask. Forbidden Area number 4 must be the pirate world. Professor Joe's voice sounded. The textbook in your hands is full of introductions to some powerful people in the Forbidden Area number 4. After entering the Forbidden Area, if you encounter these people, you must avoid them. Speaking of which, it is controversial which mission is easier in Forbidden Land number 4 or Forbidden Land number 5. This month, I will give you the contents of the 2 Forbidden Lands. You can choose which one to go to first. Of course, I have to say that the number 4 Forbidden Area is very special and is called one of the most important Forbidden Areas. Because in Forbidden Land number 4, as long as you complete the mission and get a good mission evaluation, you have a high chance of getting a mission reward, Devil Fruit. Devil Fruit is a very precious and magical fruit. After eating it, you will gain all kinds of incredible talents and become a strong person. Therefore, many people call the Forbidden Area number 4 a forbidden area for newcomers to change their destiny. This is not an exaggeration at all. As long as you can get a good devil fruit reward, after eating it, you will get powerful talents and unlimited potential. When the time comes, when you go to other forbidden areas, with strong strength, you will be able to face dangers more calmly. When Professor Joe said this, the whole classroom fell silent. All the students were listening attentively. These students are no strangers to devil fruits. There are many introductions about devil fruits on the internet. There are also many stories of salty fish turning around, the protagonist of which is eating devil fruits. Every devil fruit has a sky-high price on the black market. The students here are all ordinary people. Who doesn't yearn for a devil fruit? Next, let's talk about some contents in the Forbidden Area number 4. Listen carefully. Professor Joe's voice sounded. The main event in the Forbidden Area number 4 is the war between 2 powerful organizations. One is the World Government Force, the Navy headquarters. On the other side is the Whitebeard Pirates, one of the strongest Yonko pirate groups on the sea. The main reason why the 2 sides went to war was that a captain-level figure from the Whitebeard Pirates was captured by the Navy. The Navy planned to publicly execute him, but the Whitebeard Pirates came to the rescue, which triggered a war between the 2 sides. Hearing this, Fang Ye was stunned. He already knew when the timeline in the number 4 Forbidden Area took place. War on the top? It is also known as the most exciting one in the entire One Piece anime. A big event. Both sides of the battle are the top masters in the pirate world. This battle was really shattering. What makes Fang Ye strange is that such a high-end battle allows freshmen like them to participate. Isn't it inappropriate? In the war on the top, no matter which side the master is, they are in the air every second. Newcomers like them go in, let alone face-to-face confrontation. If they touch them, they will die. Even now Fang Ye, I dare not say that he can protect himself in such a battle. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 126. After entering the Forbidden Area, you also have choices and you need to make a decision. Professor Joe's voice continued. The warring parties are divided into 2 camps, one is the Navy camp and the other is the pirate camp. What you need to make a choice is to choose one of them and join. The mission is divided into 2 stages. The primary stage is to kill enemy members. Intermediate stage, achieve partial victory. Advanced stage, turn the tide of the battle and achieve a decisive victory. The better you perform on the battlefield, the higher the mission rating you get. As for which camp is better to join, the teacher can't give any better advice. Personally, I think it would be better to join the Navy. Although Whitebeard, the leader of the Whitebeard pirates, is known as the strongest man in the world, there are more masters in the Navy. In terms of overall strength, the Navy is still slightly better. In addition, the Navy has terrain advantages and a higher winning rate. The characters in the textbooks in your hands are all top warriors in the warring camps. Read more when you have time. It is best to memorize all the people above. No matter which side you join, if you encounter an enemy master, you must flee. Remember, don't show off your strength, and fight against those masters. You can't imagine how powerful they are. When the class ended, Professor Joe left the classroom. There were many discussions in the whole classroom immediately. I have always heard that there is such a thing as devil fruit, but I didn't expect it to be in Forbidden Area No. 4. Why do I feel that there is something wrong with arranging this Forbidden Area on number 4? Shouldn't we wait until we are stronger before we get the devil fruit reward? Yes. I don't think it's right either. Didn't the professor just say that? There are restrictions in the Forbidden Area number 4. If you go to the Forbidden Area a few times, you will not be able to enter the Forbidden Area No. 4. Anyway, there is no compulsion to go to the Forbidden Area now. I decided to wait and see until I finish the course on Forbidden Area No. 5. That makes sense, I'll wait and see. Many students gathered together in 2s and 3s to discuss. Hearing these discussions in his ears, Fang Ye also felt that there should not be such restrictions in the pirate Forbidden Area. With the strength of the current freshmen, they may be able to complete the primary stage. The mission is very simple, but it is very difficult to complete the mission at the intermediate stage. As for the advanced stage, it is almost impossible. It is also impossible for Fang Ye to go up. Fang Ye, Suzuki asked, when do you plan to go to the Forbidden Area No. 4? Fang Ye thought for a moment and said, I probably won't go for the time being. This is not Fang Ye lying. It's Fang Ye's true plan. If you want to get the highest mission evaluation in the number 4 Forbidden Land, you must be strong enough. Fang Ye decided to let himself train for a few months first. He has Saitama's physique will only get stronger and stronger. Unlike others, there is almost no way to become stronger except going to the Forbidden Area to complete tasks and upgrades. Anyway, the Forbidden Area is right there and there will be no escape, so Fang Ye is not in a hurry. Seeing Suzuki frown, he raised his eyebrows and seemed to be thinking. Fang Ye suggested, you can do the same as everyone else, first listen to the course of number 5 Forbidden Land, and then make a decision. Lao Zhou is right. Since there is a devil fruit reward in the Forbidden Area number 4, it is indeed very important and you need to be careful. Suzuki knew what Fang Ye said made sense, so he nodded obediently and said, well, I listen to you. A blink of an eye. 3 months have passed. During the past 3 months, Fang Ye had had a very easy time. It takes less than an hour every day to train several sports, and then I am free. Occasionally, he would accompany Suzuki on dates, and their relationship continued to heat up. Except that their names are not confirmed, everything else is almost like a couple. During these 3 months, something happened. The most important one is naturally that Yan Tai goes to seek revenge on Wang Liang. The result failed. According to Yan Tai, after he attacked one of Wang Liang's arms, Wang Liang was rescued by a mysterious man. It seems that Wang Liang has joined some shady organization. When he heard the news, Fang Ye was quite speechless. No wonder Lao Yan was forced into this job by Wang Liang. This guy's ability to do things is really not good. Even the assassination can be messed up. Fang Ye planned. After finding out Wang Liang's whereabouts, he took action himself. As for the Zhao and Lu families, Fang Ye has not forgotten it. When he becomes stronger, he will ask these two families if they are tired of living. 3 months down. Fan Ye's attributes have increased a lot. Name, Fan Ye. Race, human. Physique, 3253. Spirit, 966. Strength, 3249. Agility, 3011. Bloodline, Saitama physique, awakened. Super talent, flame. Skills, demon god comes to the world, can be upgraded. Passive ability, crisis sensing. This is Fan Ye's current attribute. It's absolutely terrifying. Saitama's physique is also magical. The further he goes, the more attributes he gains through training. It is getting easier and easier for Fan Ye to exercise those items. Now Fan Ye's 3 attributes have all exceeded 3,000. Even the mental attribute is almost over 1,000. Absolutely perverted. Perhaps in a single attribute, Fan Ye is not the highest among humans in the world. In terms of comprehensive attributes, Fan Ye can definitely kill everyone in the world instantly. Calculated based on the fact that for a normal adult man, each basic attribute value is about 10 points. Fan Ye's current strength and physique are already more than 320 times that of a normal person. What is this concept? For a normal adult male, the impact force of a full punch is about 100 kilograms. And Fan Ye is now punching out seriously, with an impact of more than 60,000 kilograms, dozens of tons. Fan Ye has not tested how destructive he is now with one punch. But Fan Ye estimates that even if a mountain is in front of him, he can blow it up with one punch. Winter vacation is coming soon, and it's time to go to Forbidden Land No. 4. With my current strength, even in the pirate world, I can be considered a top master, right? Fang Ye murmured to himself, I hope this time, I can be rewarded with a devil fruit with the ability to fly. After making up your mind, Fan Ye simply packed up, took his student ID card, left the campus, and headed to the Forbidden Area No. 4 alone. He is not afraid that there will be blind people who will deal with him. He was worried that no one would practice, so he came to test his strength. Someone really dared to assassinate him, and he came at the right time. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 127. Forbidden Area No. 4. In the suburbs of Tian City, it's quite a long way from Wushan Academy. After Fan Ye left the school, he took a car alone and came to the entrance of the Forbidden Area No. 4. Outside the Forbidden Area No. 4, there are also military guards. When Fan Ye arrived, it was after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and he saw a large number of people queuing outside the gate. It was estimated that there were at least hundreds of people. There were military soldiers guarding the gate, and 2 of them were checking everyone's documents. It seems that the state has very strict control over some important forbidden areas. Those who are fugitives and those who oppose the country will definitely not be able to come. This is pretty good too. At least, it can prevent the increase in crime rate. Those who have gained extraordinary power must first think about whether they will never go to forbidden areas again before committing a crime. Fan Ye looked at the time. It's 1:20 in the afternoon. The general opening time of the forbidden area is exactly 2 o'clock in the afternoon every day. On the way here, he had already had lunch, and his current mental state was not bad. With enough time, he planned to go to the Forbidden Area No. 4 today. After waiting in line for about half an hour, it was finally Fan Ye's turn. The soldier checking at the door looked at Fan Ye's student ID card and let him in. By the time Fan Ye arrived at the entrance to the Forbidden Area, it was already past 1:50. In just a few minutes, the Forbidden Area will be opened. Outside the entrance to the Forbidden Area, there were many people waiting quietly. Fan Ye's appearance did not attract much attention. Because there are young people like him around. There were only a few girls. When they saw Fan Ye, their eyes lit up. Sisters, There is a handsome guy. Where? Where? On your left. Wow. Really handsome, especially with this figure, tisk tisk. Nymphomaniac, wipe your saliva quickly or don't say you know me. Fang Ye was indifferent when he heard these girls pointing fingers at him. Similar situations have happened many times in the past 3 months. Since using the super soldier serum, his image has changed drastically and he often attracts the attention of the opposite sex. On the bus that just arrived, there was a brave girl who asked him directly for her contact information. So, boys must protect themselves when they go out alone. Soon. The time came to 2 o'clock sharp. A black light appears at the entrance to the forbidden area, indicating that the forbidden area has been opened. Seeing this, other people walked into the forbidden area one after another. Fang Ye also took a step forward. Next moment, he came to the white preparation room. Please select the camp you want to join. Choice 1, Navy Camp. Choice 2, Pirate Camp. Fang Ye did not hesitate and chose the Pirate Camp. Before coming, Fang Ye had already decided to choose the Pirate Camp in the Forbidden Area number 4. On the one hand, it was the plot of One Piece that Fang Ye watched in his previous life. At that time, Fang Ye felt deeply sorry for what happened to Ace and Whitebeard. Now that there is a chance, maybe he can change their destiny, Fang Ye will of course lean towards the Pirate Camp. The most important thing is the reason. Or Fang Ye thinks. Pirates, there is a lot of room for performance in the camp. Moreover, Fang Ye came here for the highest mission evaluation. The Pirate Camp would be more suitable for him. After the selection was completed, Fang Ye's eyes flashed red and he began to teleport. Wait for him. When he regained his sight again, he found that he was already on a ship. His clothes had turned into a somewhat sloppy pirate uniform, with a hat on his head and a long knife in his hand, which looked very similar to he has played the role of a minion in the pirate group. Such an image change is of course the result of the manipulation of the forbidden area, in order to facilitate the participants to integrate into the environment as soon as possible. Next to Fang Ye, there are many pirates dressed similar to him, everyone is waiting seriously for the war to come. Although the ship under Fang Ye's feet is mainly made of wood, it is very wide, like an aircraft carrier. Moreover, the ship at this moment is not floating on the sea, but travels quickly through the seabed. Around the ship, there is a transparent film that blocks the intrusion of seawater, which is very magical. The whole ship is like a huge submarine, shuttling in the sea. Many huge fish human beings were wandering above Fang Ye's head, looking very scary. However, none of these attracted Fang Ye's attention. What really attracted Fang Ye was the extremely majestic man standing on the bow deck. The man held the big knife stood steadily on the bow of the ship, like a big mountain. Even if he just saw the man's back, Fang Ye could recognize who he was at a glance. Whitebeard. Fang Ye's eyes gleamed when he saw Whitebeard. I found that Whitebeard, who is about 6 meters tall, has a very strong aura. Even standing there quietly, he gives people a strong sense of oppression. Behind Whitebeard, there are several captains. Phoenix Marco, Diamond Jose, Foil Bista, etc. Every captain has an extraordinary aura, and you can tell at a glance that they are ruthless characters. Since Whitebeard is on this ship, the ship I am on now should be the main ship of the Whitebeard pirates, the Moby Dick. Fang Ye's eyes flickered, as if he was hesitating about something. Finally, he resisted the urge to step forward and talk to Whitebeard. Now, it seemed very quiet on the Moby Dick. Almost all the pirates were wiping their weapons, waiting for the war to come. These pirates knew very well how dangerous the coming war was and what it meant. Perhaps, in this battle, most of the people present may die. Even though they knew the danger, everyone had no regrets. Because they are members of the Whitebeard pirates. As long as it is that man's order, even if it means mountains of swords and seas of fire, he will not hesitate. Infected by the surrounding atmosphere, Fang Ye also looked serious, quietly waiting for his task. After a while, Moby Dick begins to rise slowly. Get ready. It's about to surface. Marco standing in front said loudly. After hearing this, many pirates suddenly became energetic and clenched their weapons. The next moment, the Moby Dick rushed out of the sea. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 128. Navy Headquarters. Malinvondo. At this moment, the Navy has already set up a dragnet at the headquarters. Navy Marshal Sengoku, Admiral Aokiji, Kizaru, Akainu, Lieutenant Admiral Monkey D. Garp, Crane, Doberman, Ghost Spider, Fire Mountain, Stoloberg Sea, Flying Squirrel, etc. Almost all the Navy's senior cotters and highest combat capabilities were present. Below them, there are 100,000 elite Navy soldiers guarding everywhere, and that's not all. The 7 great pirates, known as the King's 7 martial arts, were also invited to help out. The entire island is full of people. In order to deal with Whitebeard, all the Navy's combat power has been mobilized. It is no exaggeration to say that the current Malinfondo Island is a dragnet. Any pirate force would have nothing but despair when faced with such a powerful lineup. In addition to the Whitebeard pirates, as the strongest Yonko on the Grand Line, the Whitebeard pirates deserve such attention from the Navy. On the high execution platform, Ace's hands were locked by the sea tower stone, and he knelt down in front of countless people. Just now, Sengoku announced Ace's identity to the world through a phone bug. Your mother's name is Portkas de Luyu. 1 year and 3 months after your father's death, the baby who inherited the most evil bloodline in the world was born. Sengoku's eyes were fixed on Ace on the execution platform. That's you, your father, the Pirate King Gold Roger. The words fell. People all over the world were shocked. No one thought that Roger, the Pirate King who once conquered the Grand Line, would still have descendants of his bloodline left in the world. Everyone is more aware of what this execution means. In response to Sengoku's words, Ace just clenched his fists, lowered his head, and did not refute. What no one could see was the look of pain on his face. If possible, he didn't wish that he was Roger's son. In Ace's heart, Whitebeard was his father. Ace's execution time. It's noon time. As execution time approaches, the Navy on the island slowly became nervous. They all knew that the Whitebeard pirates would definitely come to rescue Ace today. A war is inevitable. I really didn't expect that Fire Fist Ace is actually Roger's bloodline. Tell me, that man, will he really come to save Ace? The legendary strongest man in the world, no one knows how terrifying he is. Don't worry, even if the Whitebeard pirates come, they won't be able to succeed. Today, all the combat power of the Navy has been gathered here. Otakun is right. Maybe the Whitebeard pirates won't dare to come. It's best if you don't dare to come. It's really scary to start a battle with such a monster. Behind a fort, several young naval soldiers were discussing quietly. When their commander saw this, he immediately cursed, "Are you all too idle? If you have so much energy, clean up the weapons in your hands and don't gather here to discuss the situation of the war." Several young soldiers who were scolded quickly lowered their heads. Spread. After snorting coldly, the officer looked towards the sea, with a trace of worry on his face. Don't talk about those young soldiers. The middle-level people like them are also worried about the upcoming battle. The sun slowly rises. It's almost noon. At this time, the sea was still calm. In addition, everyone knew that there was no way Whitebeard would not come, and everyone's nerves were tense. This resulted in an extreme silence on the entire island. 100,000 people. No one spoke. This weird atmosphere is very uncomfortable. Everyone feels the pressure of the impending rain. So quiet. In the midst of His Majesty's 7 martial arts, the Empress said, with a serious expression on her pretty face. Doflamingo's face showed a wild smile and said with a smile, "It's so unnatural." Yinjian, who was closing his eyes to recuperate, suddenly opened his sharp eyes. "Coming." Eagle Eye said lightly. After hearing the words, everyone immediately looked into the distance. I saw a large number of pirate ships suddenly appeared on the sea level in the distance. The naval soldiers standing on the observation deck responsible for observation saw. He shouted in horror, "They are coming." Hearing this, the naval soldier behind him immediately sounded the alarm. Suddenly, the entire island was filled with piercing sirens. "Everyone is ready for battle," a lieutenant general said loudly. All the forts aimed their muzzles into the distance. The naval soldiers also grasped the weapons in their hands. On the high platform, Marshal Warring States looked at the countless pirate ships that suddenly appeared in the inland sea. His face looks a little ugly. Appeared directly here? How did they get here? No one could answer the Warring States period. As the ships in the distance approached, everyone finally saw the flags of those ships clearly. Ranger Knight Doma, Leiching Makugai, the Decalban brothers, all the world-famous captains of the Whitebeard pirates are here. The soldier in charge of the lookout shouted loudly. A lieutenant general asked quickly, "Look where Whitebeard is." The soldier looked around and replied loudly, "Whitebeard and the captains have not been found yet." "Lieutenant General, do you want to order an attack?" "Wait a minute, the Whitebeard pirates must be nearby, and he must have some intention. Keep an eye on the situation at sea. If you find Whitebeard, report it immediately." The lieutenant general had just finished speaking. Suddenly, in the inner bay in front of them, a large number of bubbles appeared on the originally calm water surface. This abnormal phenomenon immediately attracted everyone's attention. Marshal Warring States and the Navy Admiral, they all looked towards the inner bay. Akainu's ears moved, and his face immediately became serious. Marshal Sengoku seemed to have realized something, and cold sweat broke out on his face. "Is it possible?" The naval hero, Lieutenant General Garp, was only looking at the inner bay at this moment, and said to the female lieutenant general he beside him, "He won't appear from an unexpected place, right?" It seemed to confirm Garp's words. Next moment, a huge pirate ship appeared from the bottom of the sea, broke through the water, and came to the surface of the inner bay. Appeared directly in front of everyone. "Ah! It's Moby Dick." All the Navy soldiers were frightened when they saw the Moby Dick suddenly appearing in front of them. No one expected that the Moby Dick would appear in this way. And the many pirates on the deck of the Moby Dick, they also instantly attracted the attention of countless people. First Team Captain, Phoenix Marco. Captain of the 3rd Division, Diamond Jose, all 14 captains are here, and that man. The naval soldier in charge of the investigation was so frightened that he could not speak. No notification from the reconnaissance navy is required. Everyone also saw the tall, burly, and extremely majestic man on the deck of the Moby Dick. Just by looking at him, you can feel the terrifying aura of Whitebeard. Aboard Moby Dick, Whitebeard looked at Warring States on the high platform and laughed heartily. "We haven't seen each other for decades, right? Warring States. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 129. The moment Whitebeard appears, a suffocating sense of oppression came from him. Countless young Navy soldiers felt fear just by seeing that figure. Those who had previously had faith in the Navy. At this moment Whitebeard appears. Stopped immediately. All confidence was gone, and only fear remained. This is Whitebeard, the strongest man in the world. At this time, Whitebeard hadn't even taken action yet, but the Navy's morale had already plummeted. Warring States, is my dear son okay? Whitebeard looked at the Warring States Marshal on the high platform and asked with a smile. His voice was rough and low, full of penetrating power. Even a plain sentence could spread throughout the island. With Whitebeard, compared with being calm. At this moment, Marshal Warring States could not calm down. Marshal Warring States looked ugly, and his eyes were filled with gloomy expressions. He actually invaded me at such a close distance. Zenguo gritted his teeth in a low voice, staring at Whitebeard. In order to snipe the Whitebeard pirates, he distributed a large number of naval warships in the outer sea. Unexpectedly, Whitebeard would invade in this way. Each ship would be covered with a layer of film and come directly from the bottom of the sea. That is to say, the warships deployed by the Navy in the open sea have completely lost their effect. Originally, the Navy did have a greater chance of winning. This is just great. The outcome is unpredictable. Not far behind Whitebeard, Fang Ye looked at the figure with Whitebeard and sighed secretly. He is worthy of being the number one person in the pirate world, no matter in terms of mentality or aura. I am far behind. Fang Ye has to admit that there is still a big gap between him and Whitebeard now. Certainly. In the future, Fang Ye will definitely be able to surpass Whitebeard. Subsequently, Fang Ye looked towards the many pirate ships behind him. He is looking for a pirate nicknamed Big Vortex Spider, whose real name is Skyard. According to the original plot, this person was coaxed into rebellion by Akainu, and then when Whitebeard was undefended, he would pierce a long knife into Whitebeard's abdomen. Whitebeard is already old and not in good physical condition. Suffering this injury will undoubtedly make things worse for Whitebeard's body. Maybe without this sword, Whitebeard might not have died in the battle. Even if he still can't change his fate of dying in battle, he can probably kill the mastermind behind the scenes, Blackbeard, before he dies. Now, Fang Ye was on Whitebeard's side and would certainly not allow such a thing to continue to happen. Soon, Fang Ye saw the figure of Big Vortex Spider Squard. At this time, Skyard had a natural expression and did not look like he was being incited to rebel at all. Fang Ye will not be deceived by his appearance. Although in the original plot, Skyard finally changed his ways and sacrificed his life to cover everyone's escape, he still couldn't change his mood. Fang Ye wanted to kill him. Dad. Seeing Whitebeard and others appearing, Ace on the execution platform couldn't help but burst into tears. Whitebeard heard Ace's shouts, laughed and said, "Wait for me, Ace." The words fell. Whitebeard inserted the big knife in his hand into the deck, then crossed his hands and clenched his fists, as if he was ready to go. When Fang Ye saw this scene, his pupils shrank slightly. Whitebeard's he was too familiar with the posture. This was an amplified move. The next moment, Whitebeard let out a low shout and punched both sides with both fists. Click. There was a sudden crackling sound between heaven and earth. The whole sea was shaken. Immediately afterwards, cracks appeared in the space on both sides of Whitebeard. A large number of cracks, like spider webs, spread around. This is Whitebeard's fruit ability, the shock fruit. In Whitebeard's hands, the shock fruit is astonishingly powerful. It is far beyond what Blackbeard can compare to. What's wrong? What is he doing? There are actually cracks in the atmosphere. Many Navy soldiers haven't seen what Whitebeard is doing. Only the older officers showed frightened looks. Wow! The calm sea surface suddenly boiled. On the distant sea level, huge waves surged into the sky. Immediately afterwards, a huge tsunami formed strangely and hit the Navy headquarters. The height of the tsunami reached an astonishing height of more than 100 meters. Overwhelming. Blocking out the sky. Once a tsunami hits the Navy headquarters, there is absolutely no doubt that the entire marine land will be destroyed. It's Whitebeard's Haijian, an officer shouted in horror. It actually shook the sea. This is Whitebeard's ability. Terrible. Monster. What a monster. Looking at the huge tsunami, countless Navy soldiers were instantly frightened and turned pale. Faced with such an attack, they were helpless except to stand there in fear. I don't even know how to escape. What a terrifying power. In the King's Seven Seas of Martial Arts, Doflamingo said excitedly, he is indeed a legendary monster. At this time, the tsunami has hit in full force and completely surrounded Marina Vando. It only takes a moment to overwhelm the entire Navy headquarters and the countless sailors in the headquarters. The Navy soldiers were so frightened that their faces turned pale. Many of the timid ones, even the weapons fell to the ground. Just when countless Marines were in despair. On the Naval Admiral's stage, General Aokiji suddenly jumped up. He saw General Aokiji jump into the high air, and burst out a spear from the palm of his hands. The extremely cold air hit the tsunamis on both sides. Ice Age. Ao Pheasant shouted loudly. It could be heard on the entire island. Then, a scene that can be called a miracle appeared. The two tsunamis were actually frozen into ice in an instant under Ao Pheasant's ice energy. They became two huge icebergs, standing on both sides of the Navy headquarters. At this point, the terrifying tsunami crisis was solved by General Aokiji. Stop, stop. Finally saved. It's General Kuzan. Countless Navy soldiers were breathing heavily, feeling like they were surviving a disaster. The pirates, on the other hand, looked disappointed. Whitebeard looked at the blue pheasant in the air, and couldn't help laughing and cursing, "Ching Pheasant, you little brat, you are such a bummer." The response to Whitebeard was the attack launched by Aoki Pheasant. Two thorn spears. Ching Pheasant shouted, and several frozen spears burst out from his hands, shooting towards Whitebeard. Whitebeard didn't look at it, and punched it in the air. Click. The void was shattered. Aokiji's spear was shattered together. Aokiji himself was shattered by the shock. This is the strength of the world's #1 person. Even the general, who is known as the Navy's highest combat power, cannot comparable to. Ah la la. The green pheasant made a helpless sound and turned into a ball of broken ice, falling into the sea. That ball of ice is the body of the blue pheasant. Contains an extremely icy chill. Falling into the sea, the entire inner bay was instantly frozen. Fang Ye was amazed by this scene. With a strength like Aokiji, if it were in reality, he would definitely be an S-class master. Certainly. Fang Ye did not envy Ching Pheasant for having such strength. Now, he attacks with all his strength, and his destructive power is just as powerful as Aoki Pheasant. With this confrontation between Ching Pheasant and Whitebeard, it means war on both sides. It's officially started. Fang Ye and other people in the real world received prompts from the system. Please note that the main mission is released. Mission: kill at least one enemy member. Mission description: kill enemies. The more you kill, the higher the mission evaluation you will get. Mission time: 5 hours. Mission failed: obliterate. TI. Dimensional chosen: only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author: Mungbean Garden. Chapter 130. Although in the contest just now, General Ching Pheasant was at a disadvantage and was slightly injured. However, Aokiji's performance in being able to freeze the tsunami gave many naval soldiers hope. Although Whitebeard is terrifying, we also have some of the strongest generals from the Navy headquarters here. No, that's right, the general is the highest combat power of our Navy, and each one of them is a godlike existence. With the generals here, the Whitebeard pirates have nothing to fear. One by one, the Navy soldiers were loudly cheering for their companions and at the same time encouraging themselves. Then, the Navy officers gave orders one after another. Shelling. Destroy the Moby Dick. Boom. Boom. Many cannons on the fort were firing. A large number of shells were attacking the Moby Dick. The pirates did not show weakness here. Several captains shouted exciting words and carried the subordinates jumped off the Moby Dick ship, walked on the ice, and charged towards the navy. Upon seeing this, the navy immediately sent soldiers to fight. For a moment, the entire bay was filled with the sound of gunfire and shouts of kill. Sound. Fanya didn't get off the boat, he was waiting for a good opportunity to enter. Not long after the two sides fought, Hawkeye from the Kibutai opposite Wangzia suddenly jumped out. Hawkeye's move immediately attracted many big shots. As the world's #1 swordsman, Hawkeye's strength is among the top even in the pirate world where there are many strong men. Usually Hawkeye goes his own way, and the navy can't do anything to him. At this moment, Hawkeye was so eager to join the battle, which suddenly surprised many big shots. This is really rare. General Kizaru glanced at Hawkeye, showing an expression of interest. Akainu also raised his head slightly and fixed his gaze on Hawkeye. That Hawkeye who does his own way actually wants to join the war. The tone was a little surprised. Next to Hawkeye, Doflamingo, who was also the king of the Shishibukai, chuckled and asked, "What are you going?" The sharp gaze of the eagle eye has been locked on the white beard on the Moby Dick. Hearing this, he said without looking back, "I just went to try and see how far we are from the man in front of me." The words fell. Hawkeye drew his sword and slashed at Moby Dick. Buzz. A clear roar sounded. The black sword in Hawkeye's hand suddenly burst out with a strong green sword light. The sword light shot into the sky. It actually cut open the frozen sea surface. Along the way, whether it was the navy or pirates, everything in the way of the sword light was cut down. The powerful sword light rushed directly towards the Moby Dick. To be precise, it was slashing at Whitebeard on the bow deck. Seeing the sword light attack like a laser weapon come, Fanya frowned slightly, his face a little serious. He stood far behind Whitebeard, and he felt the prompt from the crisis sensor. There is danger. This shows that Hawkeye's slash can damage his body. Causing damage. You know, Fanya's physical attributes now exceed 3,000. His defense is extremely strong. To describe Fanya as invulnerable is to insult his defense. Perhaps, it can be called it is an indestructible body. Even so, in the face of Eagle Eye's slashing, the crisis sensor also reminded Fanya that he was in danger, which is enough to show how powerful Eagle Eye is. He is worthy of being the greatest swordsman in the pirate world. Fanya murmured to himself, but did not take action or choose to dodge. There was a white beard in front of him. In addition, according to the original plot, the person who should appear next should be the so-called most expensive man in history. Diamond Jaws took action. Sure enough, when Hawkeye's sword was about to hit the Moby Dick, a figure blocked the Moby Dick directly in front of it at an extremely fast speed. Bang! The figure caught the sword light and made a crisp impact sound. The next moment, Diamond Jose roared, raised his hands fiercely, and struck the eagle eye slash into the sky. Call! The light of the sword dissipated in the sky, blowing away all the clouds in the sky. If such a powerful energy were to hit the Moby Dick, I am afraid that no matter how huge the Moby Dick was, it would be chopped open with one strike. On the ground, the smoke and dust cleared, revealing a burly figure. It was Diamond Jose. At this moment, Jose was all shiny and looked extremely dazzling. What kind of monster is that? He actually blocked the world's #1 slashing attack. It's the captain of the 3rd Division, Diamond Jose. The Navy soldiers exclaimed. Diamond Jose himself showed a ferocious smile to Eagle Eye with a provocative look in his eyes. Eagle Eye took a deep look at Diamond Jose and chose to put away the knife without taking action again. This Hawkeye's attack failed, which shocked many people. The strength of the Whitebeard pirates was too strong. Seeing the Navy's morale being hit, Kizaru couldn't help but stand on the general's post. Get up. Really, as expected of the captains of the Whitebeard pirates, each one is as strong as a monster. Kizaru fixed his gaze on the Whitebeard on the Moby Dick, and seemed to be saying to himself, if you want to minimize the loss, you can only capture the thief first. Akainu next to him was silent when he heard this. He didn't make any comments about Kizaru's tactics. The next moment, Kizaru's whole body on the stage began to emit golden light. Slowly, his whole body changed. Became golden light. Whoosh! Kizaru disappeared from the place. When he reappeared, he was already above the Moby Dick. His appearance immediately frightened many pirates. Huang, Kizaru is here. Everyone, please note that this is the enemy's highest combat power. Kizaru ignored these little minions. In his eyes, there was only Whitebeard at this moment. 8-foot Megatama. Kizaru shouted, and a strong golden light erupted from his hands. Then, countless golden energy burst out from Kizaru's hands, like Gatling bullets, shooting at Whitebeard on the Moby Dick. This is Kizaru's large-scale attack. The entire Moby Dick is within its attack range. However, this guy is indeed Wang Lufi's brother-in-law, the king of water paddling. Although the attack method looks shocking and has great special effects, it is actually very powerful. Not as good as Hawkeye / Fang Ye was on the Moby Dick. Faced with Kizaru's large-scale attack, his crisis sense did not react at all. What does this mean? It means that even if Fang Ye does not hide, his attack couldn't even break through his defense. Hey! It's so dazzling. Whitebeard snorted dissatisfied, but didn't even hide. This is because he has confidence in his sons. Almost as soon as Whitebeard finished speaking, a huge bird suddenly emerged from the crowd. Lifted into the air, flew over Whitebeard, and directly collided with Kizaru's attack. This big bird, with strange blue flames burning all over its body, actually blocked all Kizaru's attacks. Kizaru was stunned. Stopped. I saw a blue bird like a phoenix, standing in the sky. Under the repair of the blue flames, the gap just made by Kizaru was healing quickly, and soon a human figure was revealed. Face. It is none other than the captain of the 1st Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, Marco the Phoenix. The general's attack was actually blocked. Countless Navy soldiers were extremely shocked. Before Whitebeard could take action, the world's #1 swordsman slashes and the general's attacks were all blocked by the captains. From beginning to end, Whitebeard didn't even move. So, what is that? Wrapped in blue flames. Ah! That's their first squad leader, Marco the Phoenix. What happened to that body? Can he withstand the general's frontal attack? The Navy soldiers exclaimed one after another. Marco looked at Kizaru high in the sky and smiled. How could you disturb our king as soon as you come up? Kizaru showed a surprised expression. How terrible! Whitebeard pirates. When Marco heard this, a sneer appeared on his face, and then with a low drink, he turned into a huge blue phoenix and rushed towards Kizaru. Kizaru immediately launched a flash attack, but it was ineffective against Marco's body. When Marco approached Kizaru, he suddenly kicked Kizaru away. Seeing this scene, the Navy soldier turned pale. He actually knocked Mr. Kizaru away. This is not true, is it? Mr. Kizaru. Of course Kizaru is fine. An attack of this level cannot hurt him. However, Kizaru looked in the direction of the Whitebeard pirates with a look of fear. On the high platform, seeing with his own eyes that both Hawkeye and Kizaru returned without success, the warring States Marshal couldn't sit still. I saw him taking out the phone bug and giving instructions for a full-scale attack on the phone bug. The artillery force is targeting the Moby Dick and the pirates in the bay. The front-line soldiers must hold the defense line and completely prevent them from entering the square. Yes. Countless naval officers responded with a bang. Next, a large number of shelling sounds were heard. Countless shells were fired from the fort in the port square, attacking the Moby Dick. These shells, of course, are a threat to those strong men. It's nothing. But if there are too many, it can still cause trouble for everyone. Seeing the overwhelming cannonballs coming, if we let it go, the Moby Dick will definitely be destroyed. By then, those masters will be fine. Ordinary pirates would definitely suffer heavy casualties. Whitebeard and the captains realized this and took action to block the cannonballs. Seeing this scene, Fang Ye knew that it was his turn to take action. Then, he moved towards walking on the bow deck. "Hello. What are you doing? It's dangerous, come back and avoid it." A pirate who was escaping saw Fang Ye's actions and quickly shouted to stop him. Fang Ye ignored it and continued to move forward. Soon, he came to Whitebeard's side. He was 1.85 meters tall. Ye, standing next to the 6-meter-tall Whitebeard, was like a little boy. But Whitebeard noticed Fang Ye. To be precise, the aura of Fang Ye at this moment was very extraordinary. What are you doing here, little one?" After asking this question, there was a look of confusion on Whitebeard's face. Is there such a person in his pirate group? Why didn't he notice it usually? With such an aura, even if he serves as a captain, the position is more than enough. Hearing Whitebeard's words, Fang Ye showed a smile. "These cannons are so annoying, I'm going to clean them up." After the words fell, Fang Ye's legs and knees were slightly bent, and he made a movement to accumulate strength. The next moment, Fang Ye suddenly exerted his strength, and his whole body was shot out like a cannonball. Boom! The entire Moby Dick was stepped on by Fang Ye and sank. A big hole appeared directly on the solid deck of the bow. Countless sawdust flew around and a large piece was damaged. Seeing this scene, Whitebeard first said he was stunned for a moment, then a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. Looking at Fang Ye flying away like a sharp arrow, he showed a hearty smile. "This brat really doesn't care about my boat."